Level 2 times in sales. All right. So pretty much the level 2 is the order book, right? So it is just the order book. So on the right hand, this will look a lot better when we go back to Thinkorswim. I just kind of want to give you the visual picture real quick. So on the right hand side, these are the ask. So this is what sellers are willing to sell the stock for. Now you have to understand every single order on the limit book, every single one on both sides are limit orders. This is very important to understand. So on the right-hand side are always the sellers. So they're at the ask. And on the left-hand side, these are what the buyers. Bid for buyers, B for B, right? So these are also limit orders. This is where the people are trying to buy. They're trying to buy the stock at this specific price. Now, then when we get into the ask size and the bid size, so these numbers will then be multiplied by 100. So let's just say the bid size is 1 lot, right? Instead of 1, you actually have to times that by 100. So that's basically 100. Someone's trying to buy 100 at that specific price point, right? So this is just kind of the messy version of times in sales. But if we go back over to Thinkorswim, it'll look a lot cleaner. I just want to kind of show that just for representation really quickly. So back on actual Thinkorswim, here we are back on, 1 second here. Let me make this full screen. Okay, so here's the same exact order book, the same exact times in sales. So like we said before, the left-hand side are buyers, the right-hand side, actually, let's go to SPY so it's a lot easier with liquidity. Okay, so the left-hand side is buyers, and the right-hand side are sellers, right? So this is pretty much just a lot of different orders where people are trying to either pick it up or sell their positions, right? So in this case, so what we see here is the bigger the number, the bigger the bid size or the bigger the ask size, that's basically just a wall, right? So in this case, we have a huge wall of buyers sitting there at 406.21. So basically what that means is whenever the price action inevitably goes back down to 406, there's going to be a shit ton of people sitting there waiting to buy. They're basically just waiting to buy. Now, that's for the buyer side, right? Now, on the seller side at 417.77, this is going to be a major resistance wall. So these are supports, these are resistances, right? So that's basically saying whenever we end up coming, the price action comes back to 417.77, there's going to be a fuck ton of sellers sitting right there, right? So why do we care about this? Okay, this is very important because we actually can make our own, in a sense, targets by using the order book. So what I mean by that is, so let's just say, for example, let's just say, okay, I'm going to get into calls. Let's just say I get over calls at 415, right? Because I know 415 is a major level. I already know necessarily where my final real target will be is at 417.75 because there is a ton of sellers sitting right there. It's a big wall. So what I want to do is, especially for an option trader, I want to sell into that. I want to sell into this pop, right? So I don't want to sell on the pullback, right? Like if I'm in calls right over here, I don't sell in this pullback because my premium's shit. Like I don't get a good reward because my IV has dwindled. And when my IV dwindles, my contract premium has dwindled. So I don't get much value. I want to be selling into these pops, right? Very, very important. Sell into the pops. So understanding the order book, I already know that there's going to be a huge wall at this 117.75 region. So if I know that beforehand, then I'm able to basically sell my position right into this pop. So when everyone's trying to get filled, I'm going to be, because you have to remember every single transaction, there's a buyer and a seller. So I'm going to be pretty much selling my orders to them in a sense, right? So this way, I'm basically, what I'm trying to say is you want to sell into these pops, and it's very helpful to look at the order book because you can kind of already tell where the general support is and where the general resistance is. And also this is very helpful for you because if you're not into a position just yet, then you can kind of say, okay, you know, which side is heavier, which side is not heavier. Because let's just say, for example, let's kind of do some examples here. If I'm looking for calls, I don't want the ask size, these numbers, to be bigger than these numbers. because that's basically saying there's a lot of sellers and not that many buyers, right? So what I actually want to see is I want to see the ask size starting to dwindle down, and I want to see the bid size starting to pretty much stack up. So what that means, there's going to be more buyers stepping up to the plate to end up pushing the price higher and higher. As you can kind of see here, while I was talking, we got a short right here. We got a nice little pullback. So if you look here, all those bids that were sitting here ended up kind of just they got flattened. And then the ask size started to kind of size up a little bit, right? We were getting like 20s here, right? And we were only getting sub 10s. So that means that the sellers in this specific example outweighed the buyers, thus causing the price to continue down, like supply and demand 101 pretty much, right? So this is another useful trait of the level 2s, because it allows you to figure out who is in control at the moment. Are the buyers stepping up? Are they more in control? Or are the sellers stepping up and they are more in control, right? So this way you can kind of have, in a sense, better trades, because if you're trying to look for calls and the ask size is super stacked, like 20s, 30s, 50s, and your bid size are like 1 to 10, that's a pretty good indication that your calls are not going to be very valid right now, because until those sell walls dwindle, right? So, all right, how do those sell walls dwindle? This is when we get into the fun part, which is the time and sales. So the time and sales are up here in the top right. These are pretty much your orders being filled, right? So what that means is, so as we said before, the order book, the level 2s are all limit orders. Every single one of these are limit orders. Whereas up here, the time and sales are market orders. Very important. So what that means is whoever was sitting here at, say, 411.08, 411.5, all these right here, they just got purchased. So all those, they got market ordered pretty much, right? So whatever you see here, so all those numbers right here, 411, 410, all this, they were sitting right here on the bid. So the sellers wiped them out, right? The sellers wiped them out. They market ordered them, and then they got printed on the tape right here. This is what is known as the tape. So if we want to go lower, what needs to be printed on this tape? So right here currently at about 410.75, we need to see that, and then in order to go lower, right? So we saw that. Now look, we went down a little bit lower. All right, so whatever gets printed right here, that's who's winning. So currently the sellers were winning, and that's why we went down about 2 points as we've been talking, right? So this is why you want to use both of them in conjunction to see what side is printing, because if you want to be bullish, what needs to be wiped out? These numbers over here need to be wiped out and be printed up here, right? Where, like, as we saw before, look, those 50s, 60s, and 70s, they're gone now. They just got wiped out, right? They got printed on this tape. Very important. So this is why the market is going down, because all those bids that were stepped up here, they got wiped out by the sellers. The sellers are in control, and then basically purchasing all those orders and just wiping them out. They all got market ordered and wiped out. So we were just at what, 410.75? Now we're at 410. Right, so all those orders that were sitting there got wiped out. Therefore, the sellers are clearly in control until the buyers can step up and wipe these numbers out, right? So if we want to go higher, we need to see some of the asks be wiped out. So basically 410.30, whatever it is, right, in this specific situation. Currently, we're not doing that. Like, let's even go to the 1 minute just to show everything. Currently, that's not happening. So we were just at 410.20. Now we're at 410 here. So as you can kind of see here, every single time the buyers have been stepping up, the sellers are stronger, right? So now here comes to my next point. My next point is, so another common misconception for the times and sales tape, which is right here, they see green and they automatically equate to buys. They see red and they automatically equate to sells. This is not true. This is not true. Get that out of your mind now. This is pretty much upticks and downticks. So if you look at the tape, this is a 96 red, 99 green, uptick, 0.4, right? So like here, let me go to the fresher lots so it makes more sense. So when we get down ticks, so here's 15, here's a 12, here's 9, here's 9, here's 9, like, so then we get an uptick, we get green. So pretty much what I'm saying is, don't just think of the time and sales as buy orders and sell orders. It's not. It's basically just upticks and downticks. What you want to see is, let me see if I can find, here we go, something like this. This is what you want to see when breaking through a key level on the tape. So like, you want to see something similar to this on the tape. You want to see full green upticks, right? That does not mean buy orders necessarily. What it means is a lot of people are stepping up, right? In a sense, so they're upticking the price. It can either go upwards or downwards. In this specific case, remember, we've been going bearish, right? So it doesn't matter what color the tape is. It only matters is you want to see a shit ton of green for the upticks, because it's basically able to push through a specific level, right? So where would that level be? One sec here. Something like that right here. So you see here, we were at that level, we got pushed down, right? So this right here is visually representing this candle is this, right? So you want to see, you don't want to see like something like flip-floppy like that. You don't want to see this. That's not going to be much upticks. That's not really much volume. You want to see this. This is what you want to see when trying to break through a key level, either a resistance or a support, right? And then you want to justify and have confluence with your level twos. So if you're thinking 410.20 is a resistance area, we need to see 410.20 print up here, right, to end up going to a bullish standpoint. Whereas if we're going to a bearish standpoint, we need to see 410, 409.90. We need to see these print. Hold on, let me go up top. So we need to see all of these print. So like all of that right here. So if you see here, we just got shorted back down right through that exact same level, right? So it sounds a little confusing at first, but I promise it'll get more easier to spot as things kind of, as you get more experience with the tape and level twos. Pretty much just to sum it up really quickly, left hand side is buyers. The bid is where they are sitting at the actual price action, where they're sitting waiting for orders. The bid size is pretty much how many lots and positions they're sitting there for. So this would be 60, 100, 40, like whatever this number is, you times it by 100. So this is 900, 500, 300, you times this by 100, whatever these numbers are. Same exact thing. Sellers on the ask. These are where people are looking to sell their shit at. 410, 430, 417, whatever these numbers are, the ask size, you times it by 100. So 10, 50, 100. What you want to see is, if you are one specific bias, let's say you are bullish bias, you need these bid sizes, you need to see these start stacking up, and you need to see these start dwindling, because that means the buyers are taking control. Vice versa. If you are looking for puts and you're bearish, you need to see the ask size. You need to see the sellers step up and pretty much take out the bids. So this way, the sellers are in control, right? So then that leads me to the time and sales. Green and red are just upticks and downticks. They are not buy orders or sell orders. They're just straight upticks and downticks. That's it. What you want to see on the tape is green, straight green like this. When going through a key level, it can be whatever level, upside or downside. We want to see ideally a sea of green. That's what we want. Now, another thing is these lots right here. You want to see bigger lots. Now, you do not, very important, you do not times these numbers. Whatever numbers these are the positions. These are the lots pretty much. You don't times these. The level twos down here, the book orders, you do times these. You do not times in sales. So pretty much the bigger the lot, the bigger the move. So like right here, these are the big moves for today. They happened a couple minutes ago. So let's see where we're at. Let's see where 412 was, just for shits and giggles. One sec. 412.23. Yeah, so what happened here was some big boys stepped up and pretty much helped drive the price back down, right at 19. Right. So that's another real. Now another thing is, this is a little bit more advanced, but you can get a lot of like fake orders, like with high frequency traders, the algorithm stuff. So some of these orders that you do see on the actual tape can be manipulated. So that's just kind of just something you want to think about. But another thing is you don't. A good tip is, so if you look here, look how like look how fast this can go. Very fast, right? It's hard to read these type of things. And you also don't give a shit about the 1 lots, the 5 lots, and you don't care about these smaller lots because they're not going to move the market. This is the SPY is the market. So these little tiny ass lots don't do shit. So I would recommend clicking up here on the size and then hitting at least 200. So this way you can get stuff that like actually matters and can potentially move the market, or maybe 500. So this way, these are the type of orders that can actually do stuff. Like these are the orders that can actually, potentially move the market, right? So as you can kind of see here, we got a nice little bounce at 409 area. So what needs to be happening just in real time, these numbers right here, these are their current resistances. They need to be printed, right? So let's just see if they start to be printed to end up going higher. Yes, if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. I know I talked a little fast, but if you're confused about anything or whatever, just feel free to drop it in the chat. We'll chat about it. But do you kind of see what I'm talking about here? Those 0.80s right here, those 0.80s just got, where were we? They just got right here printed, right? They got printed right here, right? So those 80s just got printed. Guess where we're at now? We just went up 50 cents because the buyers are stepping up, right? Are level 2s free on TOS? Yes, they are free. So if you're not familiar with how to get these, here, let me, 1 second here. So how do I do? Okay, so you'll see something kind of like this for a traditional Thinkorswim platform. So you can go into the times and sales, which is this one, and you can get into the level 2, which is this one. I have mine a little bit more customized, but if you want to get to that, you just show the grid up top right, customize grid, and it'll bring up this little sidebar. And then I'm going to go back into this. There we go. But as you can kind of see, remember we were just talking about a minute or two ago, we were just right here at 410.80. All of these got printed. Those sellers that were sitting here at 410.80 just got printed. And look what happened. This is the price action right here, right? This is the price action. We went up $1.50 or something like that in 2 minutes, right? So that's pretty much just the order book and times and sales in a nutshell. There's definitely more in-depth stuff I could get into. I just don't want to necessarily, overload everyone, especially if you're not familiar with this just yet. But I would recommend kind of just training your eyes to see this, because this is definitely a lot of numbers just flying at you. Some of them are basically just irrelevant numbers. What you need to really care about is at key levels. Like for example, here we're at a key level of 412. We need to see these ass sizes. We need to see them dwindle. We need to see them mid printed to actually, in order to pretty much get out of here, right? Is heat map better in your opinion? Yes, 100%. We'll do a lesson about heat map next week, but just to not over confuse people, level 2s, times and sales are basically just the book map, the heat map, pretty much visually represented, right? That's basically just it. But anyway, so as you see here, we didn't hold 412, and the seller started stepping up, bringing the buyers down. So the ask stepped up, brought the bids down. And as you kind of see here, where were we at? 1 second here. So all those 412 that were sitting here at the ask got printed, and now we're all the way back down to the 70s. So any questions about this lesson today? Anything you want to talk about? Anything like that? I just wanted to have a short and sweet lesson about level 2s and times of sales and why it's very important, because it's very, very helpful for your entries and for your exits. Because if you can enter with these as confluences, and then you can use them for exits, right? Because if you have a, like we talked about before, if you have a big ask, if you're you know, in calls and you see a big resistance level on your ask size, then that's a good indication that you could possibly be trimming at that specific level, or you could be taking profits at that specific level. So this way, like we said before, you sell into the pops, not on the pullbacks, because the premiums you want, as an option trader, you want to take advantage of the IV, because when you sell into the pops, the IV is more in your favor. Thus, your contracts are more expensive and you can get a better deal, right? So like, let me kind of just do a visual representation of that. So let's just say I'm in calls, right? Right here, right? So I got into calls at 410, 80, and we took it all the way up to 412, right? There's a big old, you know, resistance there. We saw that on the ask. So we knew ahead of time that 412 was indeed an area, right? So what happens is I would want to cut there, or at least trim there on purpose. Whereas let's just say, just for a, now this is just an example, but we'll just do it for an example. Say, let's say I could take profit here at $100. So I would have $100 of profit right here at the top for the IV spike. If I waited to down here on the pullback, I would probably be cutting for maybe $50 in profit or less, probably less, right? So like, this is how important it is to not be greedy and just sell into the pops. Because if you sell in the pullbacks, you're going to get, basically, you're not going to get very much money. Truthfully, you're not going to get much money. So try to be mindful of where buyers and sellers are stepping in for the ask sizes and the bid sizes, and how the actual tape is setting up, and then try to sell into the pops, right? Because selling into the pops, you will get more bang for your buck. If you saw in the pullbacks, you're not going to get much money, or the IV could get super crunched and you actually lose money. So remember to sell into the pops, not on the pullbacks. Questions about today's lesson? Is your level 2 moving so fast? I'm not sure what you mean. This is just standard level 2. And also, to answer the other question, is how to toggle like the orders. So it's right here. So if you look here, you can just toggle. I keep mine so this way I know the highest bid sizes and ask sizes at the top. Just I feel like that's much easier. Can you show us how you would read it with SPY option contract? Yeah, absolutely. Good question, actually. 1 second here. So 1 second. We'll just do this one just for fun. Throw that in my option chain. Okay. So as you can kind of see here, what I end up doing is I don't do it this way. So what I do, like my actual standard grid, is something like this. So I look at this, I see SPY, whatever I'm looking at the same time. So in this case, I see my order book for my actual stock prices. Now my active trader, can you see this if I push it onto my screen, my active trader right here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So my active trader has my option chain into it. Whatever I'm trading has my option chain. So this way I know the stock prices, level 2, and I know the option prices pretty much level 2, because they're exactly the same, right? So like these bids right here are right here. These are the bids. These green numbers, these are bids. These are where people are trying to buy, right? Whereas these are the sells. So these are people trying to sell, right? Exact same thing, just visually represented a little bit differently, right? So this way I know that like, hey, if, just for an example, if I say there's, let's just say there's a, I don't know, 100 right here or 200 right here. That's an area where I'm probably going to sell, right? So this is why it's very important to utilize level 2 times and sales and active trader. So active trader is also, 1 second here. It's right here. Highly would recommend using level 2s, active trader, and times and sales to your advantage because it's very, very powerful. But so that's kind of just how I do it. I usually will have this, I will have my level 2 up on whatever stock I'm trading. And then whatever contract I'm trading, it'll be pretty much right here as well. So everything's kind of the same. It's just a little bit more represented worse, or excuse me, better. And this way I have all my orders and everything. I can buy right here, sell immediately, you know, everything's right here at my fingertips in a sense, right? Whereas if you do it the other way, I mean, some people do, I would not recommend this. Some people do, you know, trade, buy, single, you know, they do it the long way, which is very, very not very good because you're not looking at the stock when you're doing this. You have no idea what the hell the stock is doing. So I would not, if you're doing this still, I would not recommend that. So I would recommend using the active trader and utilizing this because you can buy on, you can put a limit order down here if you want, wherever the orders are sitting, wherever the bids are sitting, and you can sell in the same exact thing. So I'm obviously not going to click on these right now because I'm not trying to actually trade, but you kind of get the picture. On the ask size, there are a few pretty high orders, 436, 440 with a low ask size. They are just bouncing around the list. Do you have any relevance or should we only be concerned with the clear wall that has a lot? So that's a great question. So those are pretty much like, if you think about it, those are psychological whole numbers, 440, 436. Yes, of course, there's going to be people stepping up there whenever the price action inevitably gets there. You pretty much don't necessarily need to care about any of that until, you know, we get to that price action, because we're not going to just randomly shoot 30 points right today. The only thing that you should care about is pretty much just caring about what's on the actual order book right now, which is these numbers, right? And the only ones that have no significant bid size and ask size are the 406 and 417. Can you check out Tesla? Sure, why not? 1 sec. Well, I can already tell you just by price action alone that 880 is indeed a level to watch because it's a psychological whole number. We already printed everything here, so I can't actually go back and show you where it would be since it's $5 lower, but I can tell you for Tesla, usually you can do price targets of like $5 increments. So like 880, 885, 890, you know, kind of just psychological whole numbers that, you know, they just, same thing for SPY. So like $1 increments are definitely like psychologically whole numbers where you see a lot of people take profits or buy there. Any questions about today's lesson, guys? I hope you learned some stuff. If you have any questions after the fact, feel free to just message me in Discord. Always happy to help. What are those dotted lines on my chart? These are just my support and my resistance levels. So if you want to use those, you click the active tool, click this, the price level, and then just put it wherever the hell you want on the chart. Oh, these are the same things. These are just my levels. So like my support and resistance levels, my key levels. No problem, I got you. But anyway, if no one has any questions, I appreciate you guys for listening. It really helps me out. I hope you learned some stuff. Also, if you haven't checked it out, I create in-depth newsletters every single weekend. My next one will be this Sunday, so stay tuned for that. And if you have any questions, feel free to DM me in the Discord. Appreciate you very much. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend.
Thanks,
Be
Rob.
very